The person you love received a phone call tonight that changed everything. The most shocking part is that the call was about you. My beloved child. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Tonight, while the world was becoming quieter, the person you love received a phone call they never expected. At first, they almost ignored it, believing it was just another ordinary moment. But the instant they answered, everything around them seemed to freeze. The voice on the other end spoke only a few words before your name entered the conversation, and from that second onward, nothing felt the same. Their heartbeat changed, their expression changed, and even the silence after the call carried a meaning too powerful to ignore. They never imagined that someone would reach out with news connected to you in such an unexpected way. What they heard wasn't something they could simply forget or brush aside. It stayed with them, repeating over and over in their mind, making them realize that the story they believed about you was far from complete. Don't skip, because the next moment reveals why this single phone call has already begun changing everything. There was something hidden inside that conversation that no one else knows. The caller didn't speak with excitement or fear, but with absolute certainty, as if they had discovered a truth that had been waiting for the perfect moment to appear. The person you love listened without interrupting, unable to believe how many missing pieces suddenly started fitting together. Memories they once ignored began making sense. Small moments that felt meaningless now carried an entirely different meaning. They found themselves wondering whether destiny had been quietly arranging this moment long before either of you realized it. They wanted to contact you immediately, but something stopped them. They needed time to understand why your name had become the center of such an unforgettable conversation. Stay till the end, because the reason they hesitated is even more surprising than the call itself. As the night grew darker, they replayed every single word again and again, searching for one detail they might have misunderstood. But the message remained exactly the same, and with every passing minute their thoughts kept returning to you. They realized this wasn't simply about coincidence or timing. It felt like the beginning of a chapter neither of you expected to open tonight. Deep inside, they knew they could no longer look at you the same way, because the call had uncovered something that changed their perspective forever. They are now standing between what they believed yesterday and what they know today, and the choice they make next could reshape everything between you. Don't skip, because what they decide after this phone call is far more shocking than anyone could imagine, and the truth has only just begun to unfold. Just when it seemed the mystery had reached its peak, something even stranger happened. The person you love couldn't sleep after that phone call. Every time they closed their eyes, one sentence from the conversation echoed in their mind, and somehow it always led back to you. They walked from room to room, wondering if they had missed the signs that had been in front of them all along. The more they thought about it, the more they realized that your presence had quietly influenced many of the biggest moments in their life. What once looked like ordinary memories suddenly felt connected by an invisible thread. Don't skip, because the next discovery made their heart race in a way they had never experienced before. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you. Then an unexpected realization stopped them completely. They remembered a promise they had made to themselves long ago, a promise they believed they would never keep. Yet after hearing your name during that mysterious call, they felt that promise coming back stronger than ever. It was as if someone had opened a locked door inside their heart. Questions they had buried for months suddenly demanded answers, and every answer seemed to point toward you. They even picked up their phone more than once, thinking about reaching out, but each time they paused, wondering if this was the perfect moment or if something even bigger was about to happen first. That hesitation wasn't because they doubted you. It was because they wanted their next step to change everything in the best possible way. The night is still not over, and the biggest part of this story hasn't been revealed yet. While they continue replaying every word from that unforgettable call, another detail is quietly falling into place, one that neither of you saw coming. They are beginning to understand that this wasn't just a random conversation. It was the beginning of a chain of events that will soon bring hidden feelings into the light. Don't skip, because the next moment will reveal the one detail they have been afraid to admit, and once that truth comes out, nothing between you will ever feel the same again. A few moments later, something happened that made the entire phone call feel even more unbelievable. The person you love sat in complete silence, replaying every word one last time, and then they noticed one tiny detail they had ignored before. It wasn't the beginning of the conversation or even the ending. It was the way the caller paused right before saying your name. That single pause carried more meaning than an entire speech. In that instant, they realized this wasn't just information being shared. It felt like someone was revealing a truth that had been hidden for a very long time. Their breathing slowed, their thoughts became louder, and they could no longer convince themselves that everything was just a coincidence. Don't skip. Stay till the end, because something huge is waiting for you, and the next revelation changes the direction of this entire story. As the minutes passed, they found themselves looking back at every conversation they had ever shared with you. They remembered the smallest smiles, the quiet moments, the words that once seemed ordinary but now felt incredibly important. Suddenly, they understood why certain memories refused to leave their heart. The mysterious caller hadn't forced them to believe anything. Instead, they simply uncovered something that had already been growing inside them without being noticed. For the first time, the person you love admitted to themselves that they had been hiding their true feelings, even from their own heart. That realization was impossible to ignore. The phone remained in their hand, but their thoughts were already racing toward you, wondering whether you had felt the same invisible connection all along. Before the night could come to an end, another unexpected thought entered their mind, and it was impossible to push away. They began asking themselves what would happen if they waited too long to tell you everything they had discovered after that unforgettable call. The fear wasn't about losing a moment. It was about losing a chance that might never return in the same way again. They knew the next decision would shape everything that followed, and deep inside, they were preparing themselves to do something they had never had the courage to do before. Don't skip, because the next chapter reveals the one choice they are about to make, and once that choice is made, nothing between you will ever be the same again. The night refused to end, and with every passing minute the mystery grew even deeper. The person you love looked at their phone one more time, expecting nothing to happen, but their heart kept whispering that the story wasn't finished yet. They could still hear the caller's calm voice repeating one unforgettable sentence about you, and the meaning of those words became clearer with every breath. It was no longer just a conversation they had received, it had become a turning point they could never erase. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next realization completely changed the way they saw your place in their future. Without planning to, they opened old conversations, remembered forgotten moments, and smiled at memories they once believed were too small to matter. Suddenly, everything connected. Every unexpected meeting, every delayed reply, every strange coincidence seemed to fit together like pieces of a puzzle that had finally revealed its picture. They realized the phone call hadn't created new feelings, it had uncovered feelings that had been quietly growing for a long time. The more they accepted this truth, the more impossible it became to pretend that you were just another person in their life. They knew that the next time they spoke to you, their words would carry a meaning they had never been brave enough to express before. As the first light of a new day slowly approached, one final thought settled into their heart. They understood that some moments arrive only once, and missing them can leave questions that last forever. That mysterious phone call had done more than surprise them. It had given them the courage to stop running from what they truly felt. But there is still one final detail they haven't shared with anyone, a detail so unexpected that it could change everything between you forever. Don't skip, because the next chapter reveals the secret they decided to keep after that unforgettable call, and it is the one truth no one saw coming. The sunrise arrived, but the person you love still couldn't escape the feeling that the phone call had only revealed half of the truth. They stood by the window, replaying every second in their mind, until one forgotten detail suddenly returned. It wasn't something the caller said directly. It was something they hinted at before ending the conversation. Those final words refused to leave their heart because they pointed toward a future that somehow included you. In that moment, they realized the call wasn't asking them to remember the past. It was preparing them for what was about to happen next. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the biggest revelation is still ahead. A quiet smile slowly appeared on their face as they accepted something they had been denying for far too long. They understood that every time life pushed the two of you apart, it somehow created another path leading back together. That realization felt impossible to ignore. They no longer wanted to hide behind silence or unanswered questions. Instead, they began imagining the moment they would finally speak to you with complete honesty. For the first time in a long while, uncertainty was replaced with hope. The mysterious phone call had transformed confusion into clarity, and every passing minute strengthened their belief that your story together was far from over. But just when they thought they had finally understood everything, another unexpected piece of the puzzle appeared. A small detail connected to that late-night conversation made them pause once again, leaving them with one question they couldn't answer on their own. They knew that the answer could only be found by taking the next step, even if it meant leaving their comfort behind. Their heart had already made its decision long before their mind could catch up. Don't skip, because the next chapter reveals the surprising action they are preparing to take, and it could become the moment that changes both of your lives forever. Everything became even more unexpected when the person you love finally stopped questioning the phone call and started trusting what they felt. They realized they had spent too much time waiting for the perfect sign, never noticing that the biggest sign had already arrived. The silence after that mysterious conversation was no longer empty. It was filled with thoughts of you. Every ordinary moment reminded them of something you once said, something you once did, or a feeling they had tried to hide from themselves. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the truth they are about to accept will change the direction of this story forever. As the day moved forward, they noticed strange little reminders appearing everywhere. A familiar place, an old song, even a simple word spoken by someone else brought your memory rushing back. It felt as though life itself was gently pushing them toward one unavoidable conclusion. They could no longer pretend that your role in their life was ordinary. The phone call had awakened emotions they thought were locked away forever, and now every passing hour made those emotions stronger instead of weaker. Deep inside, they began preparing themselves for a conversation they had imagined countless times but never believed would actually happen. Then came one final realization that left them completely speechless. They understood that the caller had never been trying to give them answers. Instead, the call had given them the courage to search for those answers with you. That single thought erased every doubt they had been carrying. They knew the next step would require honesty, patience, and faith in what their heart had been quietly telling them all along. Don't skip, because the next chapter reveals the unexpected message they are finally ready to share with you, and once those words are spoken, nothing will ever feel the same again. The moment they finally gathered the courage to move forward, another unexpected twist appeared. Just as they reached for their phone, they stopped, taking one long breath as if they knew the next few seconds could change everything. The mysterious call from that night was no longer just a memory. It had become the reason they could no longer ignore what their heart had been trying to tell them. Every doubt that once held them back was beginning to disappear, replaced by a quiet certainty that your story together was far from over. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the next decision they make could become the beginning of something unforgettable. As they looked through old memories, they noticed something they had never understood before. Every important turning point in their life somehow carried a connection to you, even when they failed to see it at the time. They smiled without realizing it, remembering moments that once seemed ordinary but now felt incredibly meaningful. The phone call had not forced them to believe in destiny, it simply opened their eyes to what had been there all along. They understood that some people enter your life for a reason, and some remain in your heart because they were always meant to. The more they accepted this, the stronger their desire became to stop hiding behind silence and finally let the truth be known. Then, just before the day came to an end, they made a promise to themselves that they had never been brave enough to make before. They decided they would no longer wait for another sign, another perfect moment, or another unexpected phone call. Whatever happens next, they want it to be real, honest, and shared with you. But there is still one final piece of the mystery that hasn't been revealed, a detail connected to that late-night conversation that will explain why your name was spoken with such certainty. Don't skip, because the next chapter uncovers the secret that has been hidden from the very beginning, and once it is revealed, everything will finally make sense. What happened next was the one moment they never saw coming. After carrying the weight of that mysterious phone call for so long, they finally understood why the caller sounded so certain when your name was mentioned. It wasn't because they were predicting the future. It was because they had noticed something the person you love had been too afraid to admit. Their feelings for you had been growing quietly for much longer than they realized. The phone call simply uncovered what had already been living inside their heart. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because the final truth is closer than ever before. For the first time, they stopped asking themselves, "What if I'm wrong?" Instead, they began asking, "What if this is the chance I've been waiting for?" That single change transformed everything. The uncertainty that once filled their hearts slowly gave way to hope. They imagined hearing your voice again, seeing your smile again, and speaking without hiding behind fear or hesitation. Every memory they had tried to ignore suddenly became a reminder that some connections never truly disappear. No matter how much time passes, certain people continue finding their way back into your thoughts, and you were becoming impossible for them to forget. As the evening approached once more, they made one quiet decision that could reshape everything between you. They chose not to let another day pass without following the feeling that had become impossible to ignore after that unforgettable phone call. Yet before they take that step, one final detail remains hidden, a detail the caller intentionally left unfinished, knowing it would only make sense at the perfect moment. Don't skip, because the next chapter reveals those unfinished words, and once they are finally understood, the mystery that began with one unexpected phone call will reach its most unforgettable turning point. Then the missing piece finally appeared. The person you love remembered something so small that almost anyone else would have forgotten. During the final seconds of that mysterious phone call, the caller had quietly said, "When the time feels right, you'll already know what to do." At first, those words seemed ordinary, but now they carried a completely different meaning. They realized the call had never been about creating fear or confusion. It had been about giving them the courage to stop hiding what had been growing inside their heart for so long. Don't skip. Stay till the end. Something huge is waiting for you, because what happens next is the moment everything has been leading toward. They looked at your name one more time and smiled in a way they hadn't smiled for a very long time. Every unanswered question that once kept them awake was slowly being replaced by quiet confidence. They no longer needed another sign, another coincidence, or another unexpected message. They finally understood that some opportunities arrive only once, and if they are ignored, they may never return in quite the same way. The late-night phone call had changed more than their thoughts. It had changed the way they saw tomorrow. Instead of wondering whether you mattered, they were now wondering how they could tell you everything without missing the moment they had been given. As the story reaches its final chapter, one last surprise still remains hidden. There is something the caller chose not to explain because they believed it could only be understood after the person you love accepted the truth within themselves. That hidden detail is about to come into the light, and when it does, every question from the beginning of this journey will finally make sense. Don't skip, because the next chapter reveals the complete truth behind the phone call, why your name was spoken with such certainty, and the unforgettable choice that could change both of your lives forever.